board. All right. So this is our July 17th meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, I think our last meeting was end of June, right before the 4th of July holiday. So a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. So I don't necessarily see anybody that's new other than our friends from the trust. I think Karma, have you been on one of these yet? I don't know that she has been or not. You can feel free to unmute yourself.
She has.
She had been? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we can just, again, skip over 2 and 3. Just again, use the comments box. We can chat in there. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Keep yourselves muted either way. And since nobody's new, we don't have really anything to cover there. So I think the big piece, is the topic around the delayed start. The governor came out just after our last meeting back in June and said that we would now be going August 17th for in-person school. I think most, or at least the feeling is that that is probably going to get pushed again. But in the interim, we have, plans to try and figure out how to pay staff, how to keep in-service going and all of that. So if anybody wants to talk just real quick to which districts are going to start online with all students online, I know that Kyrene is going to actually delay our students to 2 weeks, they're going to delay in-person learning and our flex learning 2 weeks. So our digital academy is going to actually start on time on the 30th of July like it was supposed to. But everybody else, due to equity reasons, is going to be pushed back, which means our calendar is going to be actually pushed back to June 8th is going to be our last day of school. So our drivers they're not going to lose money, but they're not going to be getting they're probably going to go the entire month of August before they see a paycheck for if we actually resume in August 12th, getting them back in service. So anybody else want to talk about, just is their district going to start actually online with all students first and foremost? And is anybody else going to be delaying students?
I'll go first. Can I go first?
Sure, Ernie, go ahead.
Okay, our district is going 100% online, effective their normal start date, which is August 3rd. We're bringing in all staff effective their first day of their contract or work agreement. We are challenged with finding them work to do. They don't get paid unless they work, unless that CARES Act is carried over that expired June 30th. So we are working tremendously hard trying to find work for them to do. We've reached out to all the schools, asking them if they could take 2 or more staff members to help them with whatever they may need. We're going to inundate them with training and more training, get caught up on pre-trip, on tie downs, everything we can for training to keep them here as much as we can.
They've been off the bus a long time.
Yeah, I have a 3-page list of positions, tasks that we've created. I'm going to PDF them and send them to Jason so he can share them with the group, because I don't know how to do that kind of stuff, and go from there. I already have staff that is saying that they're not going to do anything else because they were hired to drive or to be a tech, and we're just going to deal with those individually. Hopefully we can make them understand the dilemma we're in and what we're trying to do for them.
Kind of that duties as assigned component allows them to continue to earn their pay. I would hope that they would be relieved by that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's in a nutshell. That's what we're doing. Any questions?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're very fortunate to be able to do that, and your district making that decision. Anybody else going online right away? I know that I saw in the survey already that I sent out this morning that some are going to go ahead and delay. I know Tommy just popped in. Tommy, you want to talk to what Litchfield's doing?
Well, we're going to start distance learning on August 5th. They're going to the board Tuesday night just to revise our calendar for those 2 days. And then what we're doing with our drivers is we're offering childcare to all of our teachers that are going to be working, because our district is saying for distance learning teachers need to be in the classroom since they're by themselves and physically distanced, but they can bring their kids. And then we're going to use our staff to like a daycare to watch the kids to make sure they're online doing their distance learning with whatever campus that they're assigned to. And then USDA just gave the waiver for food to continue on, and we can deliver to sites when the school year starts. So we're working right now on getting the list of where we're going to put the stops, because we can't have it in a walk zone. So I can figure out either they're going to drive or they're going to do the distance learning with the kids at the schools. But my super has said she's going to make sure all my drivers get paid. So, and we start the 29th. I will have all of them in a Zoom meeting on the 29th, and then we're going to rotate through about 25 at a time to come in, discuss everything, update annual drug screens, first aid CPR. I think we have like 6, so that'll be an easy class, and PPTs and all that. So we're just up to date on all that stuff.
Nice.
Anybody else want to share before we get into the districts that are delaying past August 17th?
Yes, good morning, Jason. This is Dave from Tolleson Elementary. How you doing?
Pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yeah, so just to give you a kind of a overview of what our district is doing, we are going to do laptop distribution August the 4th through the 6th. And then on Friday, August the 7th, all teachers will start online with streaming with all of our students. So all of our students will be back online beginning August 7th until we give the okay to return to school.
What will your drivers do?
Well, fortunately, in my case, my drivers do more than just drive. Most of my staff are either 11.5 or 12-month staff. They work the warehouse, coffee center, and also assist food service. So they will remain, as of right now, being paid, until we return.
Nice.
Well, in Yuma, we're doing something similar. They're doing distance learning starting the 3rd of August, and then we're planning to go back to a hybrid model starting the 17th. And in the meantime, our drivers and bus monitors will be assigned out to other school sites to do other duties, such as custodial work, grounds work, and things like that, painting buildings and those kind of things.
Hey, Ernie, has your HR said anything about those drivers that are saying, no, I was hired to do this? Are they going to get involved with it? Because, I mean, don't we all have that little tagline that everyone loves? It says other duties as assigned.
Duties as assigned.
I mean, is HR going to get involved and say, look, you do this or this, or you don't work without any pay, or you resign? Have they said anything to you about that?
Ernie, you're muted.
Sorry about that. That's exactly what they told me.
Okay.
Not sure who's asking me that question. Is that you?
That was me, Tommy.
Okay. That's exactly what they told me. I haven't made that public yet.
Okay.
But it's either they work and earn their FTE, or they can use their leave time, or not get paid, or resign.
Okay. That's where ours was going also, because I had a few that say, I'm a driver, I'm not a babysitter. And I'm like, well, what's really the difference? The only thing is you're not driving while you're babysitting.
It'll be easier.
I mean, come on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay. I just want to make sure that we.
So they are allowed to use, if they have adequate leave time, they can use their leave time from the start of the school year?
Yes, but in our district, they're only allowed, I think it's 11 hours a year. Anything over that, they get docked on evaluations for attendance and not meeting this and that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it could still come back and bite them later on. So, yeah.
Has anybody seen any issues with staff already communicating that they don't feel comfortable returning back to work?
We did a survey for our staff, and I think I only had a couple of people indicate they weren't going to come back. As far as drivers go, I think there are more teachers that are saying that. But last night, our board approved pushing back the opening day for in-person to after October 9th. So we've been in the process of doing one-to-one devices for all students K through 12. So This just speeds that up a little bit. There's also been discussion of how do we do in-person for students with IEPs that require in-person services. So there's going to be a little bit of that. And then the other thing is, I guess one of the executive orders signed by the governor requires at least one building to be open for students to come to, even if you're online. So we're looking at how to properly address that. But for our drivers and aides, they'll probably be assigned to schools. They'll be walking through, you know, dusting and wiping different things kind of on a regular basis. So we will have things for them to do. If they choose not to do it, then they can use their leave and stay home until their leave is gone. And then they have other consequences depending on whether they're 9 or 12 months.
So as of right now, nobody's intending to furlough staff or just flat let them go.
No.
What I'm hearing.
Not yet.
Too risky, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any truth? I mean, Brian, I see Brian popping up. So Brian, you want to talk to what Phoenix Union's going to do for their delay into October?
Yeah, a little bit. So I have some comments that were, as everybody was making their comments, things firing off in my head. But yeah, so Phoenix Union is going to return to school on August 3rd, 100% digital. So we will not have any students on campus as of August 3rd. The superintendent has committed to keeping students out of schools and remaining 100% digital for the entire first term. So we will not return until at least after fall break. We are bringing back all staff on their normal contract dates. So we'll have all drivers and aides back in on the 27th, which we'll use that at least that first week for our training and certification documents, anything like that we'll use for that whole first week. But then the intention is to use that staff for other things, you know, cleaning, whatever other duties there can be, just to keep them working and keep them paid. That's the goal of the district, is to keep everybody in their paychecks. So they're making a very concerted effort to do that. When you were mentioning there's been no talks at all of furloughs or anything like that. I have lost about 6 drivers that have decided to resign or retire because they do not want to come back with the risk that's there now. You know, they were close to retirement anyway, but they've decided to leave now instead of come back into an environment where they might get themselves or someone in their family sick. So I'm already down about 6 drivers before the start of the year.
Thank you. I think we've seen the same. We've seen 3 or 4 retirements or resignations through Kyrene of staff that just, you know, saying, hey, this isn't something that, you know, they want to try and risk. So I get, you know, it's just the nature of the beast, I guess.
I have one driver that keeps telling me that I need to provide a mask for her like 4 or 5 times throughout the day for her to change, and the gown and the gloves and so on and so forth. And I'm like, look, I'm not providing any of that for you. This is what I'm going to give to you. This is what I can. If you don't feel that safe enough, you need to make the decision if this is going to be the right job for you in the future moving forward, because this is basically what it's going to be like. But she wants a brand new mask every time she walks in the building. I'm not buying masks for you. Walmart doesn't give you a mask when you walk into their store. I'm not giving you one either. So that's where I'm running into, and it's only one right now, but we all know that one puts us or makes us fill the shot glass a little fuller when we get home every night too. So
our district is actually buying the reusable masks, I believe 2 for every employee. That was their goal. So
yeah, we have 2, but yeah, we're not going to issue 4 or 5 a day to one person, but we do have masks that we're issuing, reusable masks.
Mm-hmm.
We're buying reusable masks for students, but it's only like 2 per student, but they don't get them right away. Parents are being asked to provide the mask. We'll give it to them if the parents can't, you know what I mean? And then we're going to carry disposables on the bus for kids that show up without it, and then we'll work with the parents and the schools to make sure the student has a mask that can be reused also. But for employees, I'm providing gloves for them for on the bus, but it's not for them to wear every day and every time they're driving it. It's when they have to have an interaction with a student. And like I said, the disposable gloves. But yeah, that's my big fight right now with one.
So
She
Tommy,
did-
you're
that's the
going
whole
to see
hazmat suit.
you're going to see the disposable mask on that bus go real fast.
Hey,
Yeah.
Tommy,
gonna
are you guys
happen.
going to treat those as like referrals or any type of disciplinary action for students that don't show up with masks, or even like
Absolutely
your
not.
chronic offenders that don't show up with a mask? Say you hand out a mask with no. Okay.
No, we are not. What we talked about yesterday in admin was for the repeat offenders, we'll work with the school, because if we're seeing it, the school's probably seeing it. And we'll tell, and if parents keep pushing against it, we'll provide, if the school has to buy the kid a mask, we'll do it. We'll give them every opportunity. But if the parents are still going to push that they don't want their kid wearing a mask, then we're going to force them to choose the online, digital online academy, because that is part of the, per our legal team, is we can push parents to go in a certain direction.
How many offenses? So if, let's say you buy them a mask and you work with the family and they continue, how many times after that's purchased and given will you, or do you know yet?
I don't even know yet. That's something we're still going to decide.
Case by case, probably.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, we know the ones that are going to do it to be defiant, and we know the ones that are just going to be little jerks about it. But we'll figure it out. But no, there's not going to be any discipline. Just like if they come on the bus without a mask, we're not going to kick them off, refuse the ride. They're sitting in the front seat till we get to school. But yeah, we're not going to do any referrals or discipline or bus suspensions for it.
Got it.
Is transportation paying for the masks for the students?
Yes and no, Karma. That's a good question. Yes and no. The district is buying most of them, but I am buying some from my CARES Act allotment to just put in the buses itself. So I'm going to buy a few, but the bulk of everything's going to come from district supply.
Gotcha.
We have a COVID warehouse now, which I'm sure you guys do also.
Right, we do too.
Everything's over there, and you order. There's certain things that the district will pay for, but there's certain things that your budget has to pay for. So I'm kind of dipping into both.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on just the delayed start before we get into Keith and unemployment benefits and opportunities?
I have a quick question for the group. Are you hearing that parents are pulling their kids out of your district because of the decisions being made as far as delaying brick and mortar or extending the opening until October or after Labor Day or anything?
Yes.
I don't think that we're actually seeing it or that we're hearing about it. I mean, Shannon and I follow our the Kyrene Facebook page, so you can always see the comments that are, popping around in there. But I can tell you that we've seen every time that I do our student imports or student updates into our routing system, I'm seeing about 500 withdrawals per week. So not necessarily. Yeah, usually
Kyrene hasn't even delayed our start past the governor's order of August at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you guys aren't even doing distance learning, right?
No, well, we have the digital academy that parents would have to, but that's a 1-year commitment.
Okay.
So the flex learning option that they're calling it is the reason that we're not is because the concern about equity for all students. And so those students that don't have, even if we were to give them computers, they don't necessarily have internet access in their home. So how does that work, right? And so I think the big thing is that when you look at, how much lost instructional time was, and just from what I'm hearing from parents that are employees of the district, they saw some of the curriculum packets that were going up and they were like, my kid barely did half of this, right? So how do you really ensure that the kids are getting the instruction that they need online when they just, they don't have that commitment at home or they don't have that commitment themselves? I think that's one of the big, so it's kind of like this whole first quarter is really just going to go back to, yeah, they did it, but did they really do it? So how many, now you look at potentially 3/4 of education that is lost. How many kids are going to be coming back and really struggling with, where they're supposed to be in their, say a 5th grader moving on to 6th grade? Is he really at the 6th grade level that he needs to be at because of the lost 3/4 of, being online? I think
And
that's
just
really
retaining,
what
yeah. They might go through the motions, but the concern sometimes retention, right? When you don't have the instruction, the in-person instruction.
And the big thing about that was, as far as the governor's order went for shutting down schools for, in March, was that students could bring their grades up, but they couldn't lose any grades if they didn't do any of the work. So going to the new year, there's definitely, especially for Flagstaff, there's the, a more developed curriculum, more required check-ins with the students and the teachers, and the expectations of that. We know through our surveys that about 5% of our students don't have reliable internet at home. They've ordered 500 hotspots in order to be able to do that, but it's not going to work everywhere. They're also, as part of the discussion that they had last night, maybe going to have the ability for students, again, like we have to have a physical building open. So there may be the opportunity for some students to come and do their quote unquote distance learning from that building. They're still online, but they're physically in the building. So we're really for us, we're trying to make sure that there's no additional lost learning. And our parents, there was lots of discussion, lots of parent letters and emails to the board. Most were in support of pushing back the physical date, but then there were a few that said, hey, this is what I pay for, and if you're not going to do it, I'm withdrawing my student. But that was maybe 1 or 2 out of, say, 15 that they were able to read during the meeting.
Has anybody heard any discussion around Red for Ed doing another walkout if we come back too early?
I know they've threatened it.
So, I mean, that's definitely another concern, right? That teachers decide that they don't want to come back, and I think that puts us in a whole nother element, another pickle.
We've also had where teachers have said, hey, I can't teach from home. I need to be in the building. So, there's sort of this balance of, okay, we're going to have one person in a classroom and you're going to be able to come in and teach from your classroom. And, they have to make accommodations for other teachers who can't come in.
Sure.
That's fine. But, if that's not socially distanced enough, one teacher in a classroom, then, if they have other medical concerns, then they'll have to look at something else there. But our plan is to bring back the majority of the teachers physically into the building, where they can do their classes. They are distant. They won't have any students in the class except for those few that need to come in to get online. So I think it's a good balance that way. You still have a much reduced number of people in the school, in the building, reduced interaction. They can eat at their desk, but they're going to have to clean their own desk too in a lot of cases.
See, we're having our teachers come back, so every teacher has the exact same stuff to work with. Now, if they can't come back or they don't want to, they have to provide a doctor's note, so on and so forth. I think with that HR process, but it was so one teacher who has better internet than the other, and their kids, and our district just said, no, you need to come back to your classroom to do your distance learning. Yeah.
My thought to your question, Jason, is, and this is just my personal thought, feeling, is with State Superintendent Hoffman working closely with teachers, all the union teachers and things like that, is going to prevent any type of walkout or anything, because she's really a strong advocate for the teachers, and I don't think she's going to allow anything to happen that may cause a walkout, unless she's, if she's trumped over by the governor.
Sure.
Is my opinion.
And there's rumor that he's going to have another press conference next week that's just on education, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's he pretty much said that in his presser yesterday, was that they were going to continue working and that he would have more information next week. So, I guess we'll just kind of sit around and wait. My last question before we move on is anybody determining, Stephanie talked about this a little bit yesterday in our ASBO presentation, just real brief, but anybody making plans yet for if somebody tests positive on the bus, whether it's a student or a driver, what are your thoughts or plans about, are you going to quarantine that route for 14 days? Does that get shut down? Are you going to continue to cover it for 14 days? Just any discussion around that and plans about if somebody does come back tested positive, how to work that route. Nobody?
There's been discussion, but no one's confirming anything because they don't want us to do the same route they're doing in classrooms. But
what are they doing in classrooms?
Well, there's a whole questionnaire that they have to answer first, and then it all depends. Were you in contact within 6 feet with or without a mask on? Was it more or less than 10 minutes at a time?
15 minutes, yeah.
And if it's less than 10 minutes, well, no, we don't have to really do anything. Just keep watching your symptoms. If it's more than 10 minutes without a mask, then you have to go home for this. I mean, no one's really. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what it is. And if the kid's in isolation, we're gonna take them out. We'll leave that room for 24 hours and then clean it. Okay, I can put a bus down for 24 hours. I'm fine with that. But then it was who's gonna notify the parents of all the other kids if they were exposed? Is it principals? Is it me? Is it HR?
Right. Or what about the student who walks up and says, "Oh, good morning. Oh, good morning. Oh, my dad has COVID." What do you take at face value, and what do you? Right. We're going to have to be, as we've said here at Kyrene, very fluid with our decisions and our reactions this year.
Correct.
We're directed just to notify HR about anything like that, and they'll handle it from there.
Anybody else? Yeah. All right. Well, we can switch gears to Keith. Keith, are you still there? Maybe.
Here we go. Can you
there
guys hear me?
Yes, we can. So, as Stephanie, for those of you that joined late, Keith O'Reilly from the Trust is there. Keith, what is your position there, your title?
Folks, so I help manage the new unemployment insurance program with the Trust. We are currently, around 35 members strong. And so a lot of the experience that I have really deals closely with these school district members, really some of your peers that we work with in managing their unemployment insurance claims. And I work with Isaac Cisneros, who's also here with us today and helping me manage those. And as you guys had mentioned, a lot of the issues right now that we're seeing deals with the possibility of furloughs, which it seems like from what I'm hearing with you guys in your discussions over the last few minutes, can either be happening for, portion of the school year or throughout the school year. And so hopefully, before we get into questions, I can at least after the question portion, we can, address or allay some of your concerns pertaining to any benefits for unemployment insurance and any other things that may be related to whatever other considerations that you guys are thinking of.
So thank you, Keith. I think just in general, some of the questions are, if drivers are furloughed or staff is furloughed, what do they have a claim to unemployment? Are they able to, put in for that? Are their benefits still intact as far as their health insurance goes? Because I think like most of everybody here, a good probably third of their staff is really just doing this for the health benefit coverage. So I know that was when we met with our staff a couple weeks ago, that was their biggest concern was with the 2-week delay, is their health insurance still good? And could they claim unemployment benefits because of the 2-week pushback? Our response to them right now is that you're still employed. We've just shifted our calendar 2 weeks. But for those that, and I don't want to speak to there were some district names that were being thrown around that were doing that, but those individuals are not here to confirm or deny those claims. So I know that there's a couple districts out there that are being thrown around about furloughing for a period of time, maybe even up to 20 days, and then bringing staff back for a day or two and then furloughing again for another 20 days. So You know, can you speak to any of that, and, you know, maybe speculate a little bit if districts were starting to do that, what that would look like for transportation staff?
Sure. Well, before I even say anything, I just kind of wanted to put out this disclaimer. You know, what I'm telling you guys is really just based on what we've seen thus far. Any policy protocols or programs that you guys are rolling out in regards to the possibility of furloughs, we definitely recommend that you guys touch base with district administration, touch base with your prepaid legal attorney. So that way, you know, all of the considerations in addition to unemployment, health benefits, which really I can't speak about, is properly considered. So with that disclaimer being said, going into the aspect of unemployment insurance, a lot of things has changed, and, you know, expect more things to change in the coming weeks. As you may be familiar, back in March 27, the president passed CARES Act, and subsequently after, Governor Ducey passed an executive order giving the state agency, the Department of Economic Security, the authority to essentially adopt any of those guidelines. So before I get into some of the specifics on how unemployment benefits or compensations may affect future operations within your school districts, two things that I want to note. Two big changes that have happened since the passing of CARES Act and the subsequent passing of, or, you know, issue of executive order by our governor. Two things have changed. Number one, when you are filing for unemployment compensation, or at least for unemployment benefits in the state of Arizona, the DES has now waived the waiting period for a claimant to receive benefits upon application. Traditionally, there is a waiting period in order for the DES and for us really as employers and employee representatives to be able to investigate and provide proper documentation to so-called protest those claims. In addition to that, the work requirement that a claimant be able, available, and actively seeking work has also been waived. So with these two requirements being relaxed, you know, we've been seeing a lot of these employees due to COVID-19 filing for unemployment claims, and for the most part, at least from our experience, from what we've seen, at least for a week or two, be eligible to receive those claims. In addition to those changes, as far as unemployment compensation specifically is concerned, part of the CARES Act includes the federal pandemic unemployment compensation, which is the federal assistance, as you guys have heard on the news and really amongst yourselves, that's $600. If an employee becomes eligible to even receive at a minimum $1 of the state, unemployment compensation benefit, which really could be a minimum of $122 up to $240, they automatically receive that extra $600. So as you can see, there's that added benefit for those who are currently unemployed, to essentially, it really incentivizes them to just stay home and wait all of this out, which I know, I'm not sure if your district has seen that a lot, specifically in your department, but one of the implications that we're seeing in regards to that is with the end of the month looming, that additional $600 is set to expire. And so there's been talks, nothing has been confirmed, at least from my perspective, as far as, the DES side, the people that I've spoken with, as far as how that looks like, whether or not that'll be extended past July up until the end of the year, or whether or not there will be a modification to ensure that once that $600, expires, that people are basically, out left in the open where they can't find a job and they're receiving significantly less than they would have received prior to the expiration of this assistance. In addition to that, the DES has also expanded the extended benefits, meaning to say the period that someone can get or can receive unemployment benefits has been extended from the traditional period of 26 weeks up to 39 weeks. So they've bumped it up by an extra 13 weeks. So with that being said, as far as how that could relate to you guys, with regards to furloughs or layoffs, like Jason had noted, as long as there is a reasonable assurance of employment, and again, this is something that was, I don't want to say confirmed, but the person that I spoke with on the state agency side, and this may be something we need further confirmation on because things are changing on our end as well, is that, there could be a denial in unemployment compensation. Because currently, the way it works with Arizona is, with our legislation and statute, if an employee who works in this case for an educational institution like your school districts, has a reasonable assurance in between 2 consecutive academic years, they typically wouldn't be eligible if they file a claim during the scheduled break. And so the scheduled break that we're looking at here right now is a summer break. However, the wrinkle in that, provision is now that the executive order passed by Governor Ducey states that school districts are essentially delaying their opening from what would be the traditional opening of 2 weeks earlier than it would be until August 17. The question is, if I, as an employee, for example, file for unemployment from here on out up until the 17th when school is set to open, could I be eligible? So that's one of the questions that we're looking to get answered. But what I've been told thus far, and again, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, is that depending on whether or not there is a reasonable assurance and the employee has worked the previous calendar year, or I should say the previous school year, and is expected to work the next school year or the next consecutive school year, there should be a denial in benefits. However, I will say this and qualify this. The federal government, in particular the Department of Labor, which provides unemployment insurance program guidance to state agencies throughout the nation, has issued a recent program letter that basically provides different scenarios in how these extensions or these delays could affect how they could determine whether or not someone could be eligible.
So can I ask a question really?
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry. So they can apply
Sure.
for unemployment even though they are currently under what we call just a work agreement. They don't have to be dismissed. There just has to be an interruption to their normal.
Yeah, Shannon, in regards to, unemployment, similar to what similar to what we've seen with workers' comp, you can file for unemployment, whether or not you'd be eligible. It's really up to us as the employer to protest that or to send a rebuttal. But anyone can file for unemployment. It really is up to the DES and up to how we respond to the DES, whether or not that determination will be favorable to where they could be eligible to receive the benefits.
I understand. Thank you.
Jason, was that a good introduction and possible kind of
absolutely.
Not like speculation, but also
I think
layout of what that looks like.
That kind of I think it probably pretty much confirmed just about what all of us thought, but puts a lot more detail behind it, and I think we're all just trying to come up with as much information for our staff as possible, at least for those that are delaying and aren't going to be given an opportunity to work right away, whether it's remotely or in a school or whatever, right? And I think if the governor comes out and says next week that that start date gets pushed back to Labor Day or October, I mean, I would like to think that we'd all continue to be paid, but I could see districts, especially if the state's not going to say, hey, we're going to have some sort of waiver or something for people to continue to work from home and be available, what districts are going to really come out and say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and continue to pay staff. I mean, it's kind of a scary thing. So,
and I just want to add something. Tommy made a good point earlier. Tommy, I think you noted earlier in your earlier comments that some of your staff, even during the furloughs, they could still be working, therefore receiving pay.
Correct.
So whether or not, because in the basis of unemployment compensation, folks, if someone's wages or hours are significantly reduced, they could technically be eligible for unemployment. And the reason why I say that is in the context of unemployment, the DES doesn't really care how they were separated. If it was because of a layoff or a furlough, as long as they were separated through no fault of their own, and that separation resulted in a significant reduction in their work hours or their wages, when they applied, they could be eligible for unemployment insurance. And I say can because there are other requirements that you have to meet as a claimant or an applicant in order for you to qualify for any unemployment benefits.
Well, and our drivers are guaranteed in their work agreement 5.6 hours per day. And that's just morning and afternoon route. So what my district's planning is they're going to work their 5.6 hours a day. It could be 7 to 12:30. It could be 8 to 1:30, but they're going to get their 5.6 every day that's going to be offered to them in various different ways. And that's how they were going about that, Keith. Does that make sense?
A little bit. And with that additional information, I can say, depending on how that significantly impacts their work hours or wages in general, they could receive partial unemployment if they do so apply. Just because if they're making less than what would be the weekly benefit amount for someone who gets unemployment benefits would be, the unemployment insurance benefit could supplement that essentially. They're not going to get the full amount, but they're also, they could be eligible for a partial unemployment benefit. So this is where it gets kind of tricky.
The weekly unemployment's like $240 a week here in Arizona though, right?
The minimum is about 122. So let's just say round it down to 120. The maximum that you can get at this point is 240. And again, the way they calculate that on the DES side is they look at your wages, or for I want to say the last year and a half prior to filing a claim, and whether or not you made enough based on those wages that they were using. They're going to use that to calculate your weekly benefit amount. That's within that range. Now, keep in mind, as of today, if you file for a claim and you're found to be eligible, even if you receive $1 of that state benefit, you automatically get that additional $600.
Yeah.
So you're looking
today, right?
not only at about 240, but 840 at most.
And that's just through next Thursday, right? Or the 25th. Through next
Yes.
Thursday.
And again, this is where on our end things are really, really uncertain, because I don't know how that'll look like. At this point, we are getting a lot of unemployment insurance claims really since the beginning of this pandemic, the closures, the quarantine, whatever you call it. We've received thousands of claims. And for the most part, majority of these were separations because of COVID-19. And, the point of this unemployment compensation and the additional assistance is to prevent further spread of unemployment. For the further spread of COVID-19. And so that's kind of where that is coming from, really from the perspective on our end.
Okay.
So,
well, if I may ask you guys then, you guys have noted temporary furloughs, 20 days in, 20 days out. Do you know, as far as, has anyone rolled out any program, or are you waiting for more direction from the governor or from your governing board? Because we're trying to develop communication material to hopefully guide districts, not only specific to unemployment, but to ensure that if you guys are doing that.
I don't even know if we can say we're waiting for direction from the governor with executive orders, because every week it changes and we're starting from scratch again every week.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. Was it Chandler that put in a work agreement for their drivers? They could be furloughed up to 20 days at a time.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know, besides Chandler, I don't know any other districts that have done that. We've not done anything like that, but
I have heard of another East Valley district having those types of conversations, but I'm not sure they received guidance, perhaps jumped the gun a little bit talking to folks before they knew exactly how all of that worked. But nothing official at this point. They have a board meeting on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, and like
and
I
again,
said,
folks,
every week we start brand new. We have this week's plan in place, and we're going to get another executive order, and we're going to start from scratch again. It's like every plan we try to make, we're not like, I don't even want to give information out to my drivers right now because I'm going to have to change it again.
Right.
And they're asking right now, with this extra work they're going to be doing, is it going to be their regular driver wage, or are they going to have to drop down to minimum wage? And
I mean, my proposal is like, at least you're going to be earning and accruing benefits. Like, that has to be the bright spot, especially if they're not eligible for unemployment benefits. The retention piece makes us so nervous, right? Because we can't train them quickly and get them safe and ready to transport kids in our district, let alone attract however many we might lose if they don't get paid.
And it's hard getting someone to even commit to coming to work for us right now. They're afraid to leave where they're at, where they are getting paid.
Right.
And besides that, I mean, you got what, a 3.5, 4 week delay with DMV to go down and actually take your permit test as well.
Yeah, we got to keep them somehow.
We're 12 to 16 weeks out now to get someone certified. Brand new. That's what's awful. And then I was just told, oh, Tommy, you can't interview or hire anyone right now. You can start hiring the week before we come back in school. I'm like, well, then don't expect drivers till December or January.
Right.
Wow.
So,
such an adventure.
Can I retire yet? Those points. I'm checking those points.
I looked at my ASRS just yesterday. I got to be honest.
Anybody have
Are there any other questions, guys?
Yeah. Any other questions for Keith?
No, but thanks for joining us. It was very insightful, very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith.
Definitely. And again, just to make sure I'm recapping everything and I'm relaying the correct information, folks, in regards to furloughs and layoffs, things will definitely change, at least on the context of unemployment. My fear is once July ends and the $600 falls off, or for whatever reason is modified in any other way, we may see a lot of increase in unemployment claims. And however that may affect you guys, it's to be seen. So, again, the context of unemployment, if you are unemployed through no fault of your own, whether or not it's a layoff or furlough, you can apply and you could be eligible for it.
Which
So
I
just
didn't
wanna
know
leave
that,
out
so
there.
thank you.
Yeah. And again, that may change.
It probably
That may
will.
change depending on how the DES determines their guidance.
Well, we appreciate you stopping in today, and we wish you well having to work with Stephanie every day.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Keith, for
Stephanie's been
being
great.
here with these people.
These people.
That was a snack at me and Jason. All right.
Steph, do you have any updates that you want to share with the group briefly?
No, I did mine's yesterday.
No.
All right. Anybody want to share anything briefly just around maybe some updated findings in sanitation or sanitization protocols for the school bus, what they've been working on the last 2 weeks? Other than what we've been working on already? Anybody have any issues getting supplies ordered or delivered?
Yeah.
Ordered from WIST last Thursday, and it all came and showed up Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. So I've got all my spray bottles, solution, the wipes, everything, gloves, everything came in. So I was kind of happy about that.
And as Tommy mentioned earlier, I just want to say I only learned recently that there's a different funding code for certain items as it relates to COVID safety and sanitation, whether it be bus in the classroom or what have you. So if you are requesting those things with your own department budget, you might check a little deeper, because there are the funds that were allocated, as he mentioned, for the COVID specific needs can contribute to some of those purchases, not just your department budget.
Yeah, but the thing is, Shannon, districts aren't going to know how much they're actually getting until after the 40th day. I mean, districts have put it aside right now, hoping they're going to get reimbursed for it. But its 40th day is going to tell us how much of that we're actually all getting. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I understand we have to get it now with or without the funding, but there just is potential for some relief and support with those dollars. I don't think I realized that we could get a piece of that pie. So if anyone else was wondering also, there's potential for some help with those expenses.
So we're using that term sanitizing, and yesterday, was it Steph on ASBO said, let's use the term disinfecting.
No, that wasn't me. No.
A little more clear. It wasn't you? Okay.
No, I would agree.
Well,
yeah, that's.
What we learned was sanitizing is just putting it down to an acceptable level, where disinfecting is actually getting rid of all of it. So if you sanitize something, you're not getting rid of all of the germs on it. You're just bringing it down to an acceptable level, like McDonald's and Burger King, when they wipe tables, they're sanitizing, bringing down bacteria, whatever it is, to that acceptable level for health code, where if you're disinfecting, you're cleaning it and then disinfecting and getting rid of everything. So,
okay.
Yeah, you're right, Patrick. We need to be very clear on that, not just say sanitizing.
The language,
it needs to be
for
more
sure.
of disinfecting. But remember, you can't completely disinfect unless you have cleaned first. So those of us that are going to wipe down real quick in between runs, we're basically sanitizing. We're not disinfecting. After we do our deep clean and then the other stuff, then we're going to be disinfecting. Yeah.
So it's probably sanitizing in between runs and disinfecting after routes.
Yes, correct. That's exactly how it's going to.
Okay.
That's the technical way it's going to be. Yes.
Got it.
And that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, it's easy to pick up language and continue to use it in the non-intended manner, I guess. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing we're not using social distancing anymore. We're doing physical distancing. to get away from that whole, oh no, we're still going to socialize, but we're just going to be physically distanced. And that's just a whole mindset thing. So we're trying to change all that right now too. Yeah.
There's a lot of mindset changing going on over at Litchfield.
The brain is busy.
2 hours longer in admin yesterday than expected. I was ready to lose my mind.
But you just had to take a breath. Find your front.
Well, it kind of helps when you're wearing this. They can't see what you're mouthing behind it. So I'm going to be honest with you about it.
Patrick, you had a question?
Yeah. Has anybody run into staff who've tested positive and then other staff completely freaking out about the positive test and then everybody wants to take off?
I have one that tested positive, but she has literally not been in this building or near anywhere since March 5th. Okay. And the other one is just a family member. And then I found out yesterday that this week, my mom tested positive for it, but she works at the hospital. So I knew it was coming. I expected it. But okay? no one's freaked. She's not even showing any symptoms, and she's annoying the hell out of me. So I know she's fine. But no one's really freaking out about it yet. Will that change when school starts again and kids are on buses and stuff? I expect it.
I think the one thing that we probably just need to be, just in our own departments, need to be careful of is just the FERPA and HIPAA laws. Just, if we know that somebody's reaching out and saying, I have tested positive or whatnot, that we're not sharing that with other staff. We know that they can share that with other people. However, if there's speculation or whatnot, just, why isn't Danny here? Where have they been for the last week and a half? It's, hey, they're, take some time off, or, you can reach out to them. I don't know. I mean, it's,
they're going to figure it out. We just have to be careful. We can't say it.
My response, my response is always, you'll have to ask them. But, recently I did have a staff member who tested positive. Other people knew they were going to go get the test, and then because even though they weren't within like 20 feet of each other, they decided they needed to go take the test. And essentially my HR department is saying, hey, if people are reading the criteria and believing they need to go get a test, then they have to stay home until they get the results of the test.
Well, and we all know if someone in our department tests positive, HR will be the one that sends the letters out saying you could have been exposed. They're not going to give names. Gossip and that kind of stuff runs through this department like there's no tomorrow. We all know that. It runs faster than COVID anything. So they're going to figure it out. But Jason's right. We just have to be careful what we're saying and how we're saying it.
Right. They're using leave. That's all. Right. They're using leave.
And we're passing that responsibility off to the county health department. So it's not even HR. It's, the health department is the one doing the quote unquote contact tracing and the notifications. And then, I've had some backlash because I'm not telling them. And you know what? I'm not telling them that somebody told me they have chlamydia either. So
very true. Very true.
That's kind of my take on it. It's that person's personal business. And yes, this is potentially an infectious disease, very infectious, but I really can't share it with them. And it really frustrates people, and trying to figure out how I'm balancing that.
Right, so I've said to people all the time, even before COVID, my obligation to the FERPA law, and I just leave it there. What the obligation is.
Yeah. And, and I've had more than one staff who was, not in the building for one reason or another. And, most of the time it's discipline, but, then the rumors about that. And, again, they have to ask that person if they want an answer.
Right. Because you might tell your favorite person, Patrick.
I don't have any favorites. I don't like anybody. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure how I have a family. Although, just kidding.
So just real quick, I did send out the survey this morning for just kind of these same topics that we covered today's meeting about delayed school start. So we'll have that down here in the July survey under the COVID-19 resources page. Added a few more things. This video will be up here as well as soon as it gets processed for anybody that wants to come back and watch it. And if for those of you, how many of you guys have gone to the forum page? Yeah,
Good stuff.
Karma, I've seen everybody pretty much on there and start using it. So pretty cool. Keep putting your stuff in there. If you want to, I closed down some of the help sections. So if you want to start a new topic, just go ahead and do a start discussion or start question to make sure that you start a new topic. But yeah, let's keep it going. Start sharing with your trainers. If they have questions, there's a whole section in there that's kind of dedicated to them. And hopefully we can start getting trainers from districts talking to each other and start collaborating a little bit more. Same with your fleet guys. So share that up. And we have one more meeting scheduled for next Friday. If that's good with everybody, we can keep that one. If you want to push it back a couple days, we can. Or to the following Friday, we can do that also. It's up to you guys.
Hey, Jace, are you going to open up the survey results for us to see?
Yeah, I think I did. I know that I saw that you were trying to get access to that. Let's see if it's available now. Yeah, it should be up there now.
Jason, I saw everybody's responses.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I just needed to click a link to enable sharing. So looks like we're already getting responses in there, so you guys can start going and taking a look at that as well.
All right.
All righty. Any other quick comments before we close it up? None?
No, everybody be well. Take
Yep.
care. Enjoy the ride.
Wait, Ernie has to say something.
Uh-oh.
I just want to publicly thank Jason for all his hard work and expertise in putting all this together. I mean, it's gonna pay forward tremendously, not only during COVID, but for the entire time that student transportation exists. This is just putting it all together virtually because we can't be together
Yes.
in real life at this time. So
you're right, Ernie. And what I really like about it is how after we've all talked, I think we've all presented the exact same information to our superintendents and our boards on how student transportation will need to be done this year. And it just shows that united front in it. And that's all thanks to Jason. He came up with it, and then Steph and I just kept encouraging him to do it. So we have to.
I appreciate all you guys. So happy to be a part of it. Happy to be working with this group. And I think this is a great group of individuals that all have, I mean, all of you, I've learned so much from all of you. And so it's really just trying to help you guys do your jobs better and all of our jobs better. So
also Jason, you're going to be an asset to ASBO if you're elected. I guarantee you.
I hope so. Vote for me next week.
ASBO needs a strong.
That means I got to get my membership going so I can vote.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. I know I have to renew mine too.
I'm going to send my charge to leadership and training.
There you go.
Nice.
She's on mute.
She's on mute where she needs to be. Don't worry.
I don't know why you're picking on me. I'm just sitting here listening nicely.
Well, Trace doesn't know why people are picking on him either. So.
Exactly.
Right.
We all know why I'm picking on Trace.
Yeah.
You guys were bullying me.
You handled it well. It was just a test.
Do you need a hurt feelings report for that, Trace? I'll send one over.
Okay, please.
Nice.
I'm gonna borrow Patrick's bottle.
We'll see everybody next Friday at 10 o'clock. We'll have hopefully an update from the governor, and we'll go from there.
Take
Hi,
care.
guys.
Have a good weekend.
Guys.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Bye.